Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Expansion Pack podcast where we download this week's gaming news and we bring it to you a little different right now. This video and episode, I guess you could say, is a little different, like a bonus episode, we'll say. Um, the crew and I had the pleasure of going to check out the Resident Evil Welcome to Racoon City movie last week. And, we're just here to share our thoughts on it. Um, Definitely a controversial movie amongst us. So, it's gonna be fun to get into it. Um, so kind of going through things here. I just want to start with expectations going into the movie. And Chris, since you are designated the Resident Evil newbie here, um,
Don't do that to me, man. Why
I
you
mean,
gotta do that
hey,
to me, man?
embrace
Come
it,
on,
man. It's okay.
come
It's
on.
not nothing bad. We want to get your thoughts initially on what you were expecting to see from this movie. So hit us off.
All right. Well, I guess my expectations were more built around the last set of movies that we had gotten, and not so much the video games. Um, so going into this, as far as expectations go, it's not a secret. I'm not a big fan of the last few batches of Resident Evil movies we have gotten, people. Um, I like the first one. I like the second one. And that's it. So, like coming into this, I'm like, all right, this movie, it can't be worse than some of them other ones that we had. So I guess my expectations were actually pretty low. They weren't really like through the roof or anything like that at all. Because I just couldn't see how they did a worse movie than some of them other ones. There's no way. Like I'm thinking about it now that the Extinction movie in particular, I was not a fan of that movie in the slightest, bro. Like I'm like, yo, what is this? And yeah, if that's where I'm basing it off of, I kind of was like, all right, let's give it a chance, see what they do, it's a new direction. But if I was to go into it and get disappointed, it wouldn't have really phased me too much because I wasn't really a big thing there from the jump. So, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair. Well, Manny, what are
Yeah,
you expecting?
I'll say my expectations wasn't too high. I mean, we already know like the last Resident Evil movies weren't the greatest. But maybe a little bit higher just because they were going based off the games and saying that they were doing the first two games. So I was interested to see how that pans out, how they put that together. But after looking at like the trailers and everything like that, kind of felt low budgety. So like I tried not to put it too high. Like because the looked very like CGI ish, and like the way they had like the little scenes in the trailer looked pretty cheesy. So I was like, okay, this feels like a low budget movie, so we're gonna take it as is. I'm not gonna come out here and be like, oh, this is some Spider-Man No Way Home budget movie when it really isn't. So I was just coming in as like a generic Resident Evil fan, hoping to see them do a good job translating the games into a movie.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Respect it. Respect.
Yeah. I mean, I would have to echo. It's no big secret that I've been a fan of the OG, well, the older Resident Evil movies. But I also know that they're bad. They're very, very bad. I agree with Chris. You mentioned it. You said one was good, two was good, and then after that they fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
I 1000% agree with that. I still enjoyed every minute of it. Um, just because I just love Resident Evil, man. It's just it's
Yeah.
just one of those things. Like I can objectively say that they're very bad movies, but I just enjoyed them. So with this one, I was expecting them to be better. I was definitely expecting them to follow more close in line with the actual games, which was something that I was really, really looking forward to seeing how they took that and adapted it to the screen. Um, but I can't say that I was expecting like a triple A movie or anything like that. The trailers definitely showed a low budget film. Um, I was just expecting to walk in there and have fun. That's ultimately my expectation. Um, Now, with that being said,
He said I came in there looking to have fun, but I didn't.
no, actually, I did have fun. They
Yeah.
met my expectations as far as fun goes. Obviously, after now we have the expectations out of the way, let's just really dive into it, right? Um, the movie is poor.
It's like the budget. Yeah.
That's how he puts it. It was poor.
It's poor. It's poor. Um,
Oh, that was funny.
I think they told the story pretty well, and again, the expectation around them sticking closer to the games themselves. I feel like maybe to a fault, they stuck really well to it. It felt like the how do I put this? Everything that happened in the movie followed the video games very closely, which is good.
Mhm.
What I think should have happened, and I understand, I do respect what the director was doing. The director, Johannes Roberts, I do respect what he was doing in that he clearly is like an original Resident Evil fan. Like it permeates itself in everything that happens in the movie, right? Like to the point where this almost feels like a fan film. Um, like he very much loved the original movie, or sorry, game that came out in, like, what is it, 96, 98, something like that, like on OG
Mhm.
PlayStation. I think he would have been better served to follow the remakes of all of those games as opposed to following the OG version, because I think, and Chris, I'm sure you'll get into it when give your what you love and hate, but I can only imagine that for somebody who's never played those original games, uh everything that happens in the movie I think would probably be lost on you, because there's this level of like cheesiness to it that fits very well into what happened in the original PlayStation games, but like it just doesn't make sense for a Hollywood movie, right? Um and like the I don't know what the term I'm looking for is. It's like it's almost like there was like a filter laid over the movie that made it feel very like 1998-ish. And I know that that's the time frame that the movie takes place in, like because the movie very specifically tells you that. Um, and I do think that that could be a good thing for them in the future if they actually go by the timeline that is set in the video games. But it just comes across like as a B-rate movie because we're in 2021 and you're telling a story really that's designed for back in 1998. Um, so I don't know, it
Mm.
just comes across really, really weird. But
I I I feel.
yeah, um, yeah, I don't know. That's I have more to say, but we'll start there. We'll start there.
Yeah.
So I guess with all that being said, Chris, basically you can tell us, did you like the movie or did you hate the movie? If what did you hate about the movie? If you hated the movie, just start it off.
Um, I don't want to say hate because that's a strong word. There's some movies out there that I can honestly tell you I hate,
Mm.
and I don't think this is a movie I hate. Did I like it? No, but hate is just a little strong. But damn, where do I start with this? I think one of the biggest things I didn't like about the movie is, again, you mentioned it, where if you played the old video games or whatever, a lot of certain things would make sense to you. And if you haven't, then you're going to be lost on everything. So there's a lot of stuff in the movie where, like, yeah, I probably didn't understand what the context they were trying to go through is, or what the character was supposed to mean, or anything like that. A lot of that stuff, yeah, they might have lost me a little bit there. But even without me knowing the characters, I think that's where the problem itself was. Because I don't think if it was me in a position of trying to reboot a franchise, and I would have made a movie that wasn't user friendly to new people. You know what I mean? Like, the movie very much comes off like fan service for sure. And then, like what you said, it sounds like, it almost comes off like a fan film in itself. So there's a lot of things about the movie that I feel, man, if they would have just pushed the gas a little harder right here, if they just pushed the gas a little harder right here, if they would have just slowed down right here, it would have been a much better film. Like I remember I was telling you guys, I really, really, really wish it didn't feel as rushed and like they packed so much shit into it, because I really thought that they should have spent more time putting more details into certain parts of the movie. Like, because I think that my biggest disappointment comes from the fact that when you really think about the Resident Evil franchise, there's no reason why this franchise cannot be one of the biggest movie franchises out right now. They have the basis of a great story. They do. So like it's annoying when like you're watching it and it's like, bruh, if y'all just did this shit would be mega hitter and you guys wouldn't have no problems. Like I want to know more about the Umbrella Corporation. I want to know more about I forgot what Holmes' name is, the one that like tried to defend his work or whatever at the his name.
Birkin.
Y'all would know. Oh yeah. Like I want to know more about what he was doing. I just feel like I didn't get enough of character development. It definitely was a little low budgety for sure. And then on top of that, I don't know. I like corniness and hokiness in movies. Don't get me wrong, but I guess the kind that I like in my horror movies is more akin to like maybe Scream or maybe like I don't know if y'all ever seen Cabin in the Woods.
Oh
But
yeah,
that movie had a lot of cheesiness in
it's
it,
one of
but
my
I
favorite
fucking
movies ever.
loved that movie, bro.
Yeah.
That movie was awesome, you know? Like, so that's my kind of hokiness I look for in horror films. The stuff that they were trying to do here, you know, they probably would have got away with a lot of it more in the 90s because I think back then a lot of movies were kind of like this. This is how they were. Not 2021 though. Yeah, I guess it felt dated. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get the feeling that they're gonna get a sequel. I just hope that they maybe make enough money off this first one to maybe up some of the things that they didn't have the money for in the first movie. I think another thing I didn't like also was the fact that they introduced the liquor. And I remember in the previous films, I don't remember, was it in one? The liquor was in Resident Evil 1, right? Yeah.
It was
Uh,
in. Yeah. Yep.
yeah, I remember it being in it. When that shit was introduced in that movie, bruh, it was like, bruh, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is this thing on the screen?
Yeah.
The way they did it in this was very. It's not the way you introduce a character or a creature like that. Like they did it in this high school setting, and he didn't come off as menacing or powerful as I thought he should have. Like he's supposed to be tearing something up. Like before you kill him or you get your win, you should have been able to see this thing in action. Because even in the video games, I haven't played them like you guys have, but I do remember seeing how that shit is introduced in the video games too. And it's like, oh shit, you know, they. It feels like they nerfed the liquor, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Manny, I just got a quick question for you to help me with my memory on this. Was the liquor in one?
From what I remember recently playing one, I don't think the liquor was
I
in
don't. I
one.
don't think so either.
So then it was two.
So it
It
was in
wasn't too
two,
definitely.
Okay.
and I'm gonna be real with you. When it was introduced in two, there was no fanfare. It was like you're just walking the hallways, and all of a sudden, this fucking thing is there, and you just need to run. Like there really wasn't that much fanfare. So I like it's so weird, man. Like there's a lot of things that I like overall, I feel like this movie wasn't good, right? Like I'm perfectly
Mhm.
establishing that. But every time you mention something, Chris, I'm like, well, in the game, that's pretty much what happened. like, like,
Yeah.
that's pretty much what happened in the game.
That's
Like in the
funny.
game, they were like scary, but like it was literally designed for you to be like, okay, I'm walking in the game. It happened differently. It wasn't. Also, let me just backtrack a little bit. From this point on, this is going to be completely spoiler filled. So if anybody's listening
Yeah,
at this
I can
point in
say that.
time, we are absolutely
Bleep,
going to be
bleep,
spoiling the movie.
bleep, bleep.
But let's be real. If you've played the games, you already know what happened. So just keep it 1,000 right now. um, in
Mhm.
Resident Evil 2, the game, you were like walking down the hallway in the police station, and then this thing just drops from the ceiling, flips around, and then like it's here, and you just basically have to run. Like you could fight it, but like you're dumb if you did, because you like initially when you first meet that thing, you don't really have enough ammo to fight it. So like you're really just supposed to keep on moving. Um, yeah, I mean the way they did it in the movie was they shifted a lot of what happened in the movie away from the police station, which it was in the game, over to this what's it again? The orphanage, which was kind of
Yeah.
something that really came out of Resident Evil 3 a little bit. So I don't know, it was a weird decision, but I don't know. I feel like that liquor scene is like it's like basically the most like video game accurate version I guess you could really have come up with. It's really weird. Like I agree with you though. Like
Yeah.
when you're looking at it from the frame of like a Hollywood movie, that liquor should have been a very easy like menacing creature to introduce and make it like more of a thing. But when you look at it from the backdrop of the game, it was pretty accurately done. And I feel like that's the struggle. Like, if there's anything that any of you are listening, who are listening or watching it, if there's anything that you take out of this review, it's basically like this little bit of conversation. Like, it almost felt like the director and the people making it um seem to have like this struggle between we're making a movie, a Hollywood movie, but it's still based off of a video game. So we need to like
Mhm.
stick to the events of the video game. But the events of the video game make sense in a video game. They don't make sense in a Hollywood movie. It's
Right.
just
Mhm.
ugh. Ugh.
I think this is kind of why we should always give flowers to these people who make these Marvel movies because I think they've mastered being able to take something and adapt it to the big screen the way it needs to be done. So like I'll agree, it's definitely a delicate line that you're walking on when it comes to that stuff because you know excuse me, I think the liquor should have been introduced or it should have made me feel the same way that them things in Quiet Place make me feel when I see it. You know what I'm saying? When you see Quiet Place and that thing comes out of nowhere, you're like, bruh, nope, nope.
Yeah.
And you get this feeling. They didn't do that with this, and I'm like, damn. It's like they introduced it because they knew they had to, and they're like, all right, make it like 7 minutes. Cut it at 7. All right, next scene. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
wasn't like I don't know.
I think
I know what you mean.
what's funny about that though. So I forgot her name, but the mutilated girl from the beginning,
Mhm.
Mm,
they spent more time making her seem like more threatening, and like they created a lot of tension with that in the
mhm,
very beginning of the movie. And it was like all of that tension that they created gone. It was like I
yeah.
never felt that moment again. Maybe briefly when Claire was at her brother's house and like the woman smashed the window or whatever. That was probably the most like tension that I felt from the whole movie. And I feel like there were too many opportunities for there to be more tension around like the zombies, the liquor. Like, I don't know. I
Mhm.
can envision a whole scene where, again, like I mentioned in the video game, the liquor was something that you really weren't supposed to fight initially. You could have made the first instance of seeing the liquor like something that they were like sneaking by, or whatever, or running away
Yeah.
from. And you didn't even necessarily have to have anyone fighting it. Um yeah, like now that we're all talking about it out loud, I think there's better ways that it could have been done for sure.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know.
I feel like what they could have done to make the liquor more like scary, I guess, since it is essentially a horror film, is that like instead of just like killing it off immediately, like Chris said, and within like the first 5 minutes you see it, maybe have something where it's like, you can shoot at it, you may be scared away for like a couple seconds, but it's like hiding, and then they're just like, still like roaming around the orphanage trying to like find a secret passage, and then next thing you know, like comes later in the film, jumps at them and that kind of stuff. But like they did like it's like, okay, here's the liquor. I know all your Resident Evil fans are gonna be happy because you see the liquor. And then it's like, all right, bye, color. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm talking
Snap
about
its
when
neck or snap its whole head
snap
off,
this neck.
basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, it's gone.
Well,
And
we gave it to you.
we gave it you know what I'm saying? You watched you played the games. Here you go.
For real.
It's kind of sad because it kind of felt like that like all the time. Like these special zombies, it was just like, all right, you only see one of it, and it's like that's it. Like the dog. I mean, I understand like you're not
Oh,
gonna have like a whole
yeah.
pack of dogs coming out of nowhere because like they showed the dog in the truck when the dog got affected at first, but like it's like you see the dog gets killed, and that's it. And there's like no more dogs. You don't.
Yeah.
They're not. They're not a threat essentially.
Yep. It
And
Go ahead.
no, go. Now you can go. I was pretty
I
much
I was
done.
gonna say, like, it almost feels like it was like a checklist. Like, okay, we need
Right.
to have a
Right.
liquor. Boom. We have
Right.
to have a dog. Boom. Like, but
Mhm.
really, the core thing was like, let's just follow these main characters, which I do think. Like, actually, if there's one thing that I will give the movie credit on, I do feel like they did a decent job with all the characters. Leon, we'll have to talk about in a second, but Claire, I feel like I never know how to say her last name, but Kaya, the actress who played Claire, she did a great job with Claire, I
Hmm.
think. Um Wesker, I think he did a great job. Joe Valentine was kind of weird to me though. Like, I don't remember Joe being such a hard ass in the games. Like she was, I don't know. It
Hard
was
ass as in like I just no, it's like what I just want to know what you mean by hard ass. Like hard ass as in like she's like just hard ass like oh she's strong she gonna whoop some
she was
or
badass. She was badass in the
oh
games, but
badass
She was
like
okay.
badass.
she was definitely badass in the games, and she was badass in the movie, which is fine. But like I don't know, she was almost like cold sometimes. It was just weird, like how they were like bullying Leon in the beginning. I don't know, like all that just I don't
Mm.
know came off weird to me.
I know what you mean now. Like right when she stole Wesker's sandwich, she's like, "It's a Jill sandwich now."
Oh my
Like you
god,
know,
that was
so
mad corny. That was a mad corny. Oh
nah,
man,
man. It was
Yeah, yeah.
as much as like I love the fact that they like pretty much bring everybody from one and two and everything like that. Sometimes I just wish that they just focus on the first one and then have a separate movie for the second one. But I understand, like you don't know if you're gonna have a second chance with a Resident Evil movie to be able to continue that story. So I can understand why they went with the route of finishing one and two pretty much.
yeah,
So like,
yeah.
you know, I understand. They're playing with I guess fire at this point. But um speaking of checklists of characters though, man, can we talk about the characters that wasn't there? Oh
Okay,
my
hit us up. Who
god.
wasn't there?
First of all, how you not have Barry there? I I was like, looking through all the characters and everything like that, and I not once I heard him mention Barry, and I'm like, wait, did they just like ship off Barry as if he wasn't there at the Spencer Mansion incident? Okay, whatever. And then like Mr. X, how you not gonna have the man chasing him around, the dude that was like practically a big part of Resident Evil 2, and it's just like that's it. So like it sucks because and we're in full spoiler mode, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Yeah, and it sucks because when the movie finishes, it's like Racoon City gets destroyed. And you're practically like, all right, so you destroyed the city. Mr. X chases you in the police station. The police station, I feel like barely got any screen time itself. It
Yep.
was just like, all right, here's the main lobby, hella CGI'd. You got the fucking main gate that is like heavily detailed for no reason. And then you got like the armory, which was like, all right, a little small little scene in the army. They get in their gear, whatever. That's it. They go to the garage. They have the couple scenes in the garage, and it's like that's it. The police station is just forgotten about through the rest of the movie. I feel like the orphanage got more screen time than the police station,
Hell
and the
yeah.
police station was like a big part of Resident Evil 2. So
Honestly, I
like,
feel like they both got no screen time. It's like the orphanage, the most you got out of the orphanage was the liquor and then the reveal of the girl. And then
in the
they had
beginning,
like yeah, they had like a little nod to the keys from the police
police
station.
station.
But like technically speaking, the police station got more screen time, but I just feel like there's way more you could have done. Like literally nothing about the idea that the orphanage had to be the place for them to go made sense to me other than to just tie it back to the fact that Chris and Claire were orphans. Like I don't know, it didn't make sense.
Mhm.
It would have made more sense to me that Umbrella was in with the police station, and the police station had like some secret entrance to get to Umbrella. That would have made more sense to me, or get to the hive or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, that's how it pretty much was in the game,
That's
and I thought
exactly
it was
yeah.
gonna be like
Yeah.
the same thing with the game. It was like they find a secret passage under the statue in the police station where, like, they showed it in the CGI main lobby. They had the statue there, but I guess they wanted to go the route where it's like, all right, we showed you this orphanage in the beginning. We're gonna somehow tie it in the end, and I can understand because they had like the Birkin underground passage, so like I can understand that part, to like fit everything all together in the story. And I feel like when you try to fit two games in a movie, I feel like an hour and 30 minutes is not enough time. Because especially when they put that orphanage scene when they were kids, Chris and Claire, that was like a whole maybe 10, 15 minutes itself. All right, maybe I'm exaggerating with that, but like,
No,
No, I think
they
you're
did
right.
take a decent
Yeah.
amount of time on that. Like I think personally a little bit more time than they should have. There was more exposition. yeah, there's more exposition about certain things than was needed in my opinion. Like,
Hmm. Definitely.
especially because they made I feel like there were a lot of portions in the movie where they made a lot of assumptions about the viewership, as if like, well, you know this, you play the games, you know the games
Right.
already, da 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 da.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
Hmm.
so if that's how you feel about it in the middle of the movie, why wouldn't you take that same approach in the beginning of the movie, right? We didn't need the whole orphanage scene. We didn't need to establish that random girl that I don't even remember is even in the game or not. Like, I don't know. Mm.
Yeah. You only can kind of get away with that stuff of like stuff like Batman and shit like that. You know what I mean? Because at this point, everybody knows Batman and they know his origin story. You don't really have to go hella deep into his movies anymore into that shit. But like, it's Resident Evil. You know, you gotta tell some kind of something. You know, I don't think it's on
Ah,
that level where people just know.
I understand that, but I feel like they made this movie for the fans because
Oh, they definitely
clearly,
did
Yeah.
for sure.
clearly, it's not like here's a new franchise. We're giving you the whole backstory. This is what Umbrella is. This is what the T virus is, and all that kind of stuff. This is just like a fan service. So that whole orphanage scene, in my opinion, was just not necessary
Right.
because it wasn't even in the games. So like, why do we need to see it in the movie? We know who Chris and Claire is, their brother sister, and we know that Chris is with the Umbrella Corps in the beginning, fighting for them and all that kind of stuff. We know that
Well,
Claire
he's with
comes in
stars.
the
He's with stars.
stars. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Stars, not Umbrella. Oh yeah, stars. But then yeah, we know Claire's is going in to see her brother. Whatever. We already know that backstory because we played the games, and it's the fans didn't. We the orphanage scene was just unnecessary.
But here's
Yeah,
the thing that I have a problem with though, right? Like, it's very clear that this was made for fans. Obvious.
Hmm.
You can still make a movie for fans that is easy for people who've never played or who never doesn't know anything about the franchise to follow. And they didn't do that at all. It was
Hmm.
just like if I showed the movie to my wife right now, she'd be like, "What the fuck is this?" She's seen the like old movies with me, and like she played like a portion of Village with me, and she's seen
Hmm.
all of seven. But like she's never seen the original movies. But if you show any random person this, they'd be like, "What the fuck is this?" Like they would not be
Hmm.
interested in nothing about this would make them interested in playing the games. They wouldn't be interested in seeing another movie necessarily. Like it's just a really weird attempt at like reestablishing this franchise. And it's
yeah, for sure.
like if you're making this just for fans, why is it not on like Netflix or like Hulu?
Hmm.
Like
Yo, I thought it was going to be on Netflix when it first
They're
got
trying to
announced.
catch the quick
mm,
bag, yo. That's why.
I really did. I didn't think it was going to be in
well,
theaters at all.
that's the other weird thing, right? Netflix has a Resident Evil show that's coming out that's going to be starring like it's going to include Wesker, but like it's not the Wesker that was in this movie. It's Lewis Reddick is going to be playing Wesker. I feel like I always mix this up. Who's the guy who plays Zavala in Destiny? Is it Lewis Reddick? Lance Reddick.
Lance. There you
Okay,
go. Yeah.
Lance Reddick. Always getting mixed up with the dude on ESPN. But yeah, Lance Reddick is going to be playing Wesker in the Netflix show.
Hmm.
If that's already happening, and I have no doubt that this Resident Evil show is going to be leaps and bounds better than
I,
this movie.
same thing. Yep.
Definitely. You're talking
Yep.
about Netflix.
So, but like that's the weird thing to me, right? It's like, okay, yeah, we talk about Netflix, but like it's Netflix. Netflix is also like Netflix is so here and there. Like there's just as many flops on Netflix as there are hits, right?
Hmm.
So to me, you would think it'd be lower risk to just put it on Netflix as opposed to like putting it in the movie theaters and having this budget and yada. Like it's I don't know, it's just weird.
A lot
Like
of weird decision making,
yeah,
bro.
there's
Like a lot.
a lot of weird decision making, and like Sony Pictures was behind this film too. Like I don't know, man. There's just so many weird things. Like
It
Yeah.
felt rushed. It
ah,
just
yeah,
everything was just rushed, out of place, and they definitely could have at least made another movie before they had to destroy the whole Raccoon City, because like it just didn't feel right the way it all ended. They go in the mansion and like find the escape route and go to the train and everything like that and bounce. That just like felt out of place. Like of course, it had to be all tied up together, but like it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I don't like. I feel like the movie made me question my like thought process. Well, it made me question the events of the original game. Because like I obviously we know the game took place in the Arklay Mountains and all that stuff, but was it happening at the same time as what was going on at Resident Evil 2? Like no, right? 2 and 3 took place at the same time, but 1 and 2 was supposed to have happened beforehand, or at least slightly beforehand. So, or 1 was supposed to happen before 2 and 3. Like I don't know. It's
I definitely got to check that out because like now you said that it is questioning, like had me questioning myself as if it did happen at the same time or not. But like it didn't, because in 3 you play as Jill, and
right.
Jill
That's
is the
yeah.
one that, like, in Raccoon City trying to like pretty much escape. So like how does the
They messed up.
events
They
transpire?
messed up.
Like
They messed up.
they
They
messed up
They
on a
messed
they
up.
banger.
messed up.
All I gotta
It's
say is
simple.
messed up on a banger movie, because Resident Evil 3 is my favorite, and Joe Valentine is a badass. They
But
could
like
have definitely.
literally, you could have had so like there was no Carlos Oliveira. Like he could have been in there, right? Like you could have had the whole thing with the Nemesis, right? It was like okay,
Mhm.
if you weren't gonna put Mr. X in the original movie, which honestly I think would have been okay if you were then going to proceed to make the Nemesis, because the Nemesis is like iconic Resident
Yeah.
Evil villain, and
Mhm.
you blew up Raccoon City with no Nemesis. Like
No X,
what?
no Nemesis. Like,
You could
bro,
have
Birkin was rushed too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, well,
Birkin to me,
maybe not rushed,
yeah,
but
I mean,
like it
he was
just.
insignificant. Like he felt exactly how he felt to me in the game. Like his final form boss. It was just like, all right, mark this motherfucker. Like whatever, you know. That's exactly how he felt in the game to me. It was like, you don't mean nothing. Like your character means a lot to the story because of what you've done with the T virus and so on and so forth. But like his final boss thing, that was meh, whatever. I didn't really care about that too much. So to me that like fit, I guess you can say. But
Hmm.
but yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like missing the Nemesis was such a big deal. Like
I
Yeah.
I feel like what they should have done instead was make this first movie focus on the whole Spencer Mansion incident, which would make sense. They would have more time to, like, do the thing around, because like I feel like there was so much more in the first game that was just like missed out, because like they had to focus on two games essentially.
mhm.
And what would have made sense, instead of combining 1 and 2, was then make this movie good enough where you maybe have a budget for a sequel, and then combine 2 and 3 together because they happen at the same time.
Yeah. That's exactly
That
what
would
it
have
was.
made a lot more sense,
Yeah.
because then now you have the availability to put, or the ability I meant, to put Mr. X and Nemesis in the movie if you wanted to, and all that stuff. But I kind of feel like what ended up happening is probably like what ended up happening is the budgeting kind of affected it, because they probably didn't have enough money to like really make a convincing Mr. X or Nemesis with
Here
with
so
budget.
here's my problem with the budgeting conversation, right? If the budget, I mean, clearly they didn't have a high budget, but if the budget was a big issue, making the first movie would have been the easiest budgeting thing that they could have
Mhm.
possibly ever done. The first game only takes place in one location, and then you can like build some bullshit labs when they get deeper into the mansion. But like
Hmm.
you literally the perfect I just feel like it's like the perfect thing to have just made the first movie based off the first game, because the mansion is like way scarier than anything that they could have done. Like they did some creative things, and Chris, I think you mentioned it was like one of the things that you did kind of like was the scene where Chris was like fighting the zombies in the
Oh yeah.
mansion. There was like a bunch of flashes and stuff like that.
The epilepsy shot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
man.
was a cool shot. It really was. But there are so many other things that they could have done in that mansion. Like it's a mansion, it's huge. Like
Hmm.
Yeah.
with scare factors, like I remember there was the crow that flies into the window in the game, like that scared the shit out of people. You could have done that as like a little jump scare, and like it would
Hmm.
have been a nod to the game. There's just so many things. Like
Yeah.
I like the windows thing is something that sticks out to me a lot. I remember there was a crow that flew through a window. There was another time where a window just broke mysteriously. I think that also happened in two. It just broke magically, and that scared the shit out of you in the game. You could have done that in the movie. There's so many
Mhm.
little opportunities that you could have had, but it's like when they were in the mansion, everything just felt like it all just happened at once. It was just like,
Mm.
okay, Chris is shooting one zombie and now there's like a fucking million other zombies there. And it was like that was never how it was in the game necessarily. I understand why you might want to change that up to increase the action, so on and so forth, but it was just like there was too much happening with the mansion that didn't need to happen there. Like the mansion was a
Mhm.
more has always been in the game, more slow pace, like a slow beat type of thing. And then when you got to Resident Evil 2 and 3, that's when things were like pumped up a little bit quicker because you were in a city, there was a lot more going on. They probably had, a better budget in the as far as like the game development went. So it was just a different thing altogether, but yeah, I don't know. That was such a missed opportunity. But
I got a question,
go ahead.
by the way. So, in the first Resident Evil films, you know, like how they had that house that they were into. Is it the same mansion that's in this movie? That's in that movie?
That's what they try to lead you to believe in the old movies, but it's not really like yeah, it's yes, it's the Spencer Mansion, but like this movie, this newer one represented it significantly better than the old movies where like Alice was living in it and all this other stuff. So, but the
Mhm.
Okay.
concept was the same. Like the hive was underneath it, or at least there was a lab underneath it, and yada yada yada.
Mhm.
I was only asking because I liked how they did it in those older movies with the little girl who was like on the laser thing or whatever that would come up.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the stuff they did in the first movie was really cool, man.
hmm
But
but it wasn't necessarily accurate to them. That's the thing that like they understood about those OG movies. It was like there's a lot of stuff that they did there that made sense for a Hollywood movie, and like it helped the viewer understand what was happening. But the majority of it was not accurate to the game. So it's just frustrating, frustrating,
I'm
frustrating.
okay with
Mhm.
liberties being taken as long as they're good liberties. You know, like even if it's comic books or book adaptations or
Yeah.
whatever, they tweak it, but it makes sense for the tweak to happen. I'm good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And
You know?
yeah, those original movies they made a lot of sense. Um
Yeah.
Mhm.
the last thing I just want to get into as far as like the general
Uh,
conversation around the
I
movie
know it's
stuff.
coming. It's coming.
I want to talk about Leon.
I
Leon,
know it. I
what
know
the actual fuck did they do to my boy Leon?
it. Yeah.
Um,
He's a rookie on the job,
but
bro.
they made him like
Nah,
a
bro.
bitch.
Nah.
Like he was a
Nah.
punk.
I can even say that, and I barely know anything about this shit. All I know, because Resident Evil 4, that's Leon's game, right? Like that's him playing
Right.
in the game,
Yeah. But there's
right?
a lot of years that happened between.
But still, it's like a whole other dude. And now,
Well,
granted, like
he was a whole other dude in the video games though. So that's
I
again,
know
it's
that.
another one of those situations where it's like, fuck, like I don't like the way they did this, but I kind of see it. I just feel like they didn't need to make him a bitch. Like,
Yeah,
like you can make him a
Mhm.
rookie and make him like a little bit bumbling, but like this dude, I don't know, man. Like you
they
could,
did that so they could give him the rocket at the end, man. That's exactly why they did that shit, which makes no sense, but that's what they did.
yeah,
Yeah, let's blow a rocket in front of all these other people, and they all survive.
and that's the other thing though, right? I, I'm not even gonna touch that. I'm not even gonna touch what you just said because that's a whole different thing. But part of me does feel like they made Leon a punk so that when they make the next movie, because if you go by the timeline, right, the next movie would have to be four, so it would be all about him, and he's a completely different person at that point in time. Like if you go by the events of the like even taking into account like the comic books and like some of the other movies that they've done like the animated movies, like after the Raccoon City incident, Leon, like I think he eventually becomes like Secret Service and a bunch of other random. Yeah, he is Secret Service, right? Isn't that what
Mhm.
lands him in for?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So like
Oh, so getting the president's daughter.
yeah, he's going to get the president's daughter. So like there's a huge arc that happens with him after 2 that we don't even see like in video games. So when 4 comes about, he's like he is really a completely different person. So I will say that Chris, like take what you see from 4 and don't apply that to this movie because he's not supposed to be that guy yet, but I feel like he was like the comic relief and that didn't make any sense to his character to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess somebody had to be. Not like when I'm thinking about it, there really wasn't anybody else who would have fit the bill. Like Claire's pretty serious. Chris
The
is very
cop,
serious.
forgot his name. The dude, the older dude that
The
tried to lead the
chief.
city.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He was the
No.
only other dude in the movie I could think of that was kind of in that
And
role.
then they murked his ass real quick, which again made sense because he had no business being in any of the Umbrella stuff. But like, man, I don't know. You could have like done a little bit more with Jill to make her more comical, but like they could have spread out the comic relief. You didn't need to make this dude a bumbling idiot. Like it just didn't make any sense to me. That shit really bothered
Mhm.
me. That was like,
It
Yeah.
was painful.
yeah, that was my probably one of my biggest gripes with the movie as a whole. Like, there's a number of other things that we're probably not even gonna have time to really get into, but like that would be like top tier. Like, why the fuck did you make Leon Kennedy, one of the most iconic characters in that universe, a complete punk ass bitch?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Man.
And like if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna make him a punk ass bitch, right? And you're gonna try to tell the story of him not being a punk ass bitch no more later on, then honestly, I kind of feel like he should have been the focal point of the movie if that's what y'all was really gonna go for. Because it's hard for y'all to introduce a character, especially how they did it. When they first show him on the screen and he's like in bed or whatever, and he wakes up, you kind of get the impression that this dude, yeah, he's a character in the movie, but like I don't know. I guess I kind of felt like they were going to do more in-depth stuff with him just based on how they decided to put him as one of the first few characters you see. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
Hmm.
It's just very, very strange how they did that situation, man.
and
Very, very
I
strange.
agree. And they also tried to do like a little character development thing with him in the basement when the dude turned and like Claire told him like, "Yo, get your shit together," and he like let
Mm,
off his whole round in the dude. And like I feel like they like whoever was making the movie thought that okay, this is his like redemption situations. Like, oh, okay, now he's more like in tune with what the fuck is going on. But it was like that was so clumsily done. Like I don't know, just
so many
very
things in
dumb.
this movie came across like they just had like how to make a movie template, right? Like somebody pulled it up off Reddit or some shit. And they were like, all right, bet. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to make sure we do this and this and this. Okay, cool. We got to have a cool explosion at the end, a la Michael Bay. Okay, okay, okay. All right, bet.
Here's what I found on the web.
Oh, god damn it, Google.
Here's
Be
what they
quiet.
found on the web. Okay, you're getting your results already.
Yo, but I think it's weird though. Like just going back to what you said, right? Like I feel like if this guy was an amateur director, again, Johannes Roberts, right? He's
Mhm.
not. He made
Oh,
47 meters down. He made the sequel to 47 meters down. He made the Strangers. Like he's had a couple of movies under his belt. Like and 47 meters down isn't a bad movie. So like I don't know what happened. It's like my question there. I'm really hoping the
I
sequel
don't
really
know.
really knocks it out the
I
park.
feel like it was again just like too much in this plate in a small time. It's like working with like an hour and 30 minutes just to get these two game stories out, and it's just it's not enough time to get into details with
Yeah,
these stories, these
it needed a slow burn,
characters and
bro. Like it
everything like
really
that.
did.
Yeah,
Really did.
which the first game would have been perfect for, but
Hmm.
I do think if they make four it should, unless you're just doing completely stupid shit, four should be a very easy movie to get
Hmm.
done. In my opinion. Like it is very straightforward. Four is arguably one of the best games in the series. Like it's all contained. There's a high sense of mystery and wonder about like the place that Leon finds himself in. You're only focusing on a singular character. Um, yeah. Ugh.
I mean, it's tough because like after seeing this, is like, will we even get a sequel? Like this
It
reels have
depends on the
been really
numbers.
great, and like it's just I feel like it's just like wasted potential, probably gonna go to waste. If we do get a sequel, I hope they do four right, because if you mess up four, then that's when you're really in hot waters,
Oh
and
yeah, you're done.
what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Here's a better question though, right? Do you want to see a sequel? Chris, do you want to see a sequel?
Yes, if they have money.
Okay, Manny.
About that. I mean, I do, but I don't, just for the simple fact that they messed up like skipping 3.
I feel
That's
that.
your
Yeah.
favorite.
I mean, that's the thing with this. Like, if this continues on, you can't go back and fix 3. You can't. Like, you've lost the opportunity with Nemesis. You've lost that unless you create some other random situation. Okay, unless you decide to go back and follow like Carlos Oliveira's, like with the team that he was with, and you don't include Jill or anyone else, and then he's the one who's really interacting with the Nemesis. I could see them going that route, but that would I don't know.
That would have made sense because it's like, all right, you got this side character now becoming a main character for the movie franchise. It's like,
That's the
you
only
know,
thing that they painted themselves in a corner that's the only thing that they can do.
mhm.
So I can't think of any other characters that they could really. I mean, maybe I'm just not thinking of it right now, but I can't think of any other main characters that they can pop in and have like substitute what Jill was in 3.
Mhm.
So
Well, at least we got Ada Wong.
at least we got Ada Wong, and obviously that. So there was an after credit scene. Obviously, that after credit scene tells us that they have some plans, right? And
Yeah,
I
for
do
sure.
think, now that we're talking about this actually really would fit the bill of them making Resident Evil 4 as the next movie, because the two people in the after credit scene were Ada Wong and Wesker. So I mean, they're really the only other people out of everybody that we saw in the main movie. The only people that they would need for Resident Evil 4 is Wesker, Ada, and Leon, right? Thinking,
Mhm.
am I missing anybody, Manny?
I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So like that makes it even more frustrating that you didn't focus on like making Leon more interesting.
Watch them try to combine 4 and 5.
You literally cannot do that. Like that. Oh
They're
my
gonna be like,
god.
oh, we're gonna add these, we're gonna meet here's Shiva, what I'm saying. No, one thing I didn't like though was how like I feel like Wesker was like rushed. You know what I'm saying? This man, is rolling with the team, knees deep and everything like that. And then it's like, he's just finding out these clues and mysteries like that he just knows right off the rip. And next thing you know, he's like, you coming with me? If not, all right, whatever. I got this money I'm leaving you, Joe. Bye. You know what I'm saying? Like it it's not like, Wesker gets lost and then you find him later and you realize he's betrayed you guys by
Right.
like, working for somebody else.
They completely ruined that. Like they ruined
It
the suspense of it. But again, that's another one of those situations where it's like, okay, if you're making this movie for the fans already know, so there's no suspense there. You already know that he's betraying you. But like it just comes right back to that same thing that we were talking about. Is like this movie is confused about what it wants to do. Like, are we doing this based off of the movie? Or sorry, are we doing this
Mhm.
based off the game, or are we actually trying to make like a Hollywood movie that would make sense for people? It's like I don't know. Every time I get back to that thought, like it just frustrates me. It's just like make a fucking Hollywood movie. Just make a movie
Yeah,
for
just do it. Yeah.
everybody.
Mhm.
Mhm. I agree.
It sucks.
Yeah, that's
I
that's
agree, man. I
I
agree.
don't want to dwell on it too much longer because we definitely talked about a lot. But I guess before we kind of wrap this all up, if we were to give it a score necessarily, it's gonna be interesting. If we're gonna give it a score, what are we giving it? Chris, I'm gonna start with you.
I'm gonna throw it a smooth 3 out of 10.
Okay,
A smooth 3.
smooth 3. All right, Manny, what are you giving it?
10 out of 10 would recommend if you have the money, and why not, Nah.
Cat.
Um
For real.
realistically, I'm gonna say as a fan and with like some of the things they throw at you, I'll give it a 4. I'll be generous. It ain't, but probably realistically, it probably would be like a 2. You know what I'm saying? Because it just felt all over the place. Some of the things didn't make sense. Like I don't like as a fan that played the game and everything like that. The fact that they skipped pretty much a whole game didn't make sense as well. Like I feel like it was just so much happened, but so little happened at the same time.
I agree.
Yeah.
For me, let me complicated answer. As a fan, I'm gonna give this a 5. But also as a fan, this in the same vein as everything Manny said, like all these things that are missing, and to realistically look at it so when I say it's a 5, I mean like my level of enjoyment was like higher up there than people. When I actually look at the movie for what it is, in addition to like some of the stuff that it should have represented in the source material, I'm giving it a 2.
Pretty
Hard
fair.
2.
That's like a 3.2 average amongst the no, a
It would be like
2.9 average.
it would be like 2.5.
Something
But
like
like
that, yeah.
they could at least like throw Mr. X like they did in the video games, like when the dude was in the cell, just like him bust through the wall and just grab him and smack him. Like, come
I
on.
still feel like, and we're gonna get out of here after this, but I still feel like that they were trying to invoke Mr. X with that guy in the cell, because I could have swore that dude had a top hat sitting next to him in the same top hat that Mr. X has. But nothing about the like you literally could have just made the zombie kind of look like Mr. X. You didn't even necessarily have to make him Mr. X in the sense that he's powerful and this that. You could have just done a nod to him, because I guess Mr. X doesn't make sense in this like what you've created so far. It doesn't make sense, right? You can't, the way they structured the movie, you can't have Mr. X and then continue on with what you've done. Like it just, to me, it wouldn't make sense. Like he can't follow them through the rest of the movie. So you had to just make a nod to him, or you needed to just do Nemesis and have somebody kill Nemesis. But they fucked that up.
They took away. They took away what made me not play Resident Evil for a year.
Oh, that's stress for Mr. X.
Jeez.
I feel that. But yeah, yeah, I mean there's plenty more we can say about this movie, but we only have so much time. Guys, if you watching and listening, if you guys have watched the movie, or if you're just a Resident Evil fan in general, drop a comment, let us know what you think about our discussion so far. Let us know if you're interested in seeing a sequel out of this thing. I mean, I definitely am, and I just want them to do I just want to do it right. I want them to do it right. Like if they only have one game to work with, I think that this director, considering how much he seems to love the franchise, like he could do a good job with just a solo, like focused movie game thing, like just 1-to-1 Resident Evil 4 as the next movie. So we'll see if that happens. We'll see if they even get the budget for it. Also, we got to keep an eye out for the Netflix show, because we'll definitely have a lot to say about that when that comes out.
Yeah, I think that shit
definitely.
gonna be
Hopefully,
bussin'. That's gonna be bussin'.
it better not be a Joe sandwich out of 10.
Oh, brother. All right, well, we'll save.
Oh man, crazy.
We'll save our normal outros for this one, since this is a little different of an episode. We won't go through our whole thing here, but guys, thank you again for watching and listening. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out our social media at XPack Pod on Instagram and Xpansion Pack Podcast on TikTok. We'll check you guys out in the coming week with our new episode. Thanks again, guys. Peace.
Hiya.